All right. We've got a really short video here today about clickjacking. The reason this is going to be short is just because, well, I mean, it's kind of a quirky little small, kind of vulnerability that you can exploit sometimes. It was so small, in fact, that I couldn't really find a good CTF to even go over for this. And I felt like the burp examples were kind of abstracted. So I found a few screenshots of things that might help out and a research paper that's actually a much more detailed analysis of this that I've got cited in here. But without any further ado, let's just go ahead and hop into it. So what is clickjacking? Well, it is basically all you're going to do is get a victim user to click on some kind of actionable content that's in the background while, pretending to be some other web page. You use this with an iframe, which is the abbreviation for an inline frame. And these allow you to, iframes are just HTML elements that let you load some other HTML page within the same document. So you're basically putting somebody else's web page inside of your own web page that you control. So you just overlay the iframe over some decoy web page content. So in this case, the screenshot I've got here, the decoy web page content is this free money button. And then the iframe is actually being used to load my blog post. And so, if you click on the link that leads you to this free money page, you might think, oh, well, I'll click here to get some free money, but you actually just went to my you just click the home button on my website. Again, that's not really useful. It might be good for like analytics or something if you're trying to say that you can generate a lot of clicks for a site, but it's kind of bogus. But anyway, not a super realistic example, but this is an example that I just whipped up in a couple minutes. And it's not really that hard to make. The hard part is really just lining up this div with whatever button you want to do. And you can also do this with multi-step operations. If it's like filling out a form, you can do that too if it's like a URL form. So there's definitely limitations you can get around. But we'll talk about one of the big countermeasures, which is frame busting. It's not super effective, but it does work a lot of the time depending on the implementation. But then again, you can get around it. So frame busting is just JavaScript that's going to be in the page somewhere. And they'll usually do like one or all of these things. They're going to enforce that the application window is the top window. So if my website's being loaded on your site, it's going to make sure it's always on top, or it'll make sure that it's always visible or all the frames are visible. You also might prevent clicking on any frames that are invisible, or it might just intercept and flag those attacks as well, so that they know who's trying to, load their page in an iframe. But, there's a countermeasure for this in this case, or not a countermeasure, but a workaround for the countermeasure, which is using HTML5's sandbox. What do you call it? It's a sandbox attribute for the iframe div element. So what you can do is you can set like allow forms is the one that's set here in the sandbox element or attribute. Whoops. But you can also do allow scripts or allow top navigation, or as long as allow top navigation is omitted, a lot of these frame busting scripts will basically be neutralized from it. And the reason I bring up, a countermeasure and then a pretty easy workaround for a lot of the countermeasures is because there's, a better version of prevention that we'll talk about shortly. So again, you combine these attacks with cross-site scripting and a few other things. So, if you see this out in the wild, you're doing a pen test or something, or you're doing your bug bounty hunting, go ahead and get creative. It doesn't hurt. And it might just be, it might just escalate the finding from, like a medium or low severity to maybe a medium to high, or maybe even critical if, that's what their threat posture is like. So just keep that in mind when looking at these things. Here's the more interesting example that I was able to find. So I strongly recommend this paper. I did some Googling. It was one of the first ones I found, and I just really liked it. It's short, to the point, and it's about practical clickjacking, practical with asterisks next to it 'cause it's from 2012. It's, over a decade old at this point in time, but still, I thought it was useful. And basically what they had set up is, it's a website that brings up a little window. And you might see this with modern websites where, you might see like a fake advertisement come up with like a little X next to it. And then you might click the fake X and it downloads something, or, downloads a malicious file or invites you to a calendar or something like that. But in this case, the malicious payload is liking a Facebook post. So if you've already got like an active Facebook session, Facebook is the site that's being loaded in the back, or at least that one Facebook page. And that's the site that's being iframed, and then they just have all this content above it. So when you click, proceed to the site, it will actually like a Facebook post, which I thought was pretty interesting. Definitely like a more relevant example than some that I've seen. But That being said, let's talk about some of the preventions. There's really like two big ones, and obviously, you should try to configure your stuff to be a little bit more resilient and make sure you test it vigorously before you ever push things to production. But here are the main ones. The X-frame options header that you can send back on your requests or responses basically has three different directives you can use. You can say deny, so that your web page will not be put in an iframe, or your website won't be put in an iframe on any sites. You could have it be put in iframes on sites that are of the same origin, or you could allow specific domains or websites to load your page in an iframe. Content security policy headers also have a similar directive where you can say, hey, either same origin can use it or nobody can use it. So again, use these with discretion. Obviously, every environment's different, but that's basically all we got today. Like I said, it's a really short video. We don't even have a lab for today, but you might run into this every now and again, and it's definitely a cool one to talk about. So without any further rambling, I'll catch you in the next one.